everything my family has done for you, you bring this into my courtroom?
You can't just
That's
say me
enough.
like that.
Both of you, step back right now. Miss Whitlock, lower your head.
Ma'am, this account, it doesn't exist. Daniel's voice trembled as he stared at the numbers flickering across the screen, millions vanishing into nowhere. Behind him, silence. In front of him, Mrs. Eleanor Voss, draped in diamonds, her cold smile sharp enough to cut glass. Then make it exist, she said. The entire bank seemed to hold its breath. What could one banker do against a woman like her? A woman the city worshipped, the media protected, and the law feared. But secrets don't stay buried forever. This is how the billionaire's wife lost everything. Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. She entered the bank like she owned the air around her. Every click of her heels echoed against marble floors polished just for her. Diamonds caught the morning light, scattering tiny reflections across the lobby, as if even sunlight obeyed her presence. To most, she was untouchable, a symbol of wealth, influence, and quiet intimidation. Mrs. Eleanor Voss, wife of one of the wealthiest men in the city, benefactor of charities, patron of the arts, and the kind of woman whose smile could make an entire room fall silent. No one dared to delay her transactions. Managers hurried to escort her to the private suites. Tellers whispered her name like a warning. She moved with that effortless superiority money often breeds, calm, cold, and confident the world existed to serve her. But at counter 7, a young banker named Daniel watched her differently. He had seen arrogance before, but something about her visits never quite sat right. The frequency, the secrecy, the handwritten slips instead of digital authorizations. Every transfer went to unlisted accounts, tucked behind corporate shells with names that didn't match. He knew better than to ask questions. People like him, especially black bankers in elite institutions, were taught to stay invisible. Yet curiosity has a way of breaking even the safest silence. That morning, when Eleanor Voss arrived again, fur on her shoulders despite the summer heat, Daniel noticed the tremor in her gloved hand as she signed. Just for a second, the mask slipped. A flicker of fear, and in that tiny fracture, he sensed something more profound than vanity. Something hidden. The city outside carried on, unaware that inside this glittering glass tower, a secret was beginning to stir. And Daniel, the quiet banker no one ever noticed, was about to uncover the one transfer that would bring a billionaire's empire to its knees. The following week, the whispers began again, soft, respectful, and fearful. She's here. Mrs. Eleanor Voss swept through the revolving doors like a storm wrapped in silk. Even the senior manager stood straighter when she entered. Her perfume lingered long after she passed, commanding attention the way royalty does. She was back for another private transfer. Daniel adjusted his tie as she approached, trying to appear calm. Her gaze brushed past him as though he were part of the decor, the invisible machinery that kept her world polished and convenient. "The usual," she murmured, sliding a sealed envelope across the desk. Handwriting, careful, deliberate. Ink smudged slightly at the corner, as if written in haste. When she left, the room relaxed, but Daniel couldn't. He glanced at the numbers again. Another 6-figure transfer, routed through an offshore account in the Caymans, tied to a shell foundation supposedly funding humanitarian relief. But when he quietly searched the foundation name, he found no records. No website, no board members. Just a digital void. Still, he hesitated. Men like him didn't challenge women like her. The unspoken rule was clear. Keep your head down, do your job, stay grateful. Yet something about the pattern gnawed at him. Every transfer came right before major stock announcements from her husband's companies. Millions crept, always timed perfectly, as if she knew things before the market did. One evening, when most of the staff had gone home, Daniel stayed behind. He reopened the encrypted archives, tracing every deposit linked to her signature. That's when he found it. A series of hidden sub-accounts connected not to her husband's firm, but to private contractors flagged in federal corruption cases. One, in particular, stood out. Cartham Industries, under investigation for illegal land seizures overseas. A chill crawled up his spine. These weren't donations. They were laundered payouts, but he needed proof, something undeniable. So he began logging the transactions quietly, saving copies to a hidden drive. He didn't tell anyone, not even his supervisor. In the world he lived in, speaking up could mean unemployment, blocklisting, or worse, especially for a black banker in a world built to silence him. Weeks passed. Eleanor kept coming, her confidence unshaken, her diamonds glinting brighter. Yet Daniel began to notice her carefully avoiding certain staff members, her eyes darting toward the security cameras. The tremor in her hand had worsened. One afternoon, she requested a private session. Just her and Daniel. The air felt heavier as she leaned forward, her voice a whisper edged with warning. "You're quite observant, aren't you?" she said softly, her smile sharp enough to wound. "Be careful where that curiosity takes you." He froze. She knew. That night, as he walked to his car, Daniel felt it, the sense of being watched. A dark sedan idled across the street, tinted windows, engine humming low. He quickened his pace, heart hammering against his ribs. He didn't look back, but he knew the game had changed. The next morning, he arrived at work to find his computer access restricted. Files locked. His supervisor's tone was clipped and cold. Someone had been digging into his activity logs, and just when he thought it couldn't get worse, a letter appeared on his desk. No signature, no stamp, just a single line written in elegant script. "Stop looking, Mr. Daniel. Some truths aren't meant for you." He slipped the letter into his pocket, pulse racing. The walls of the bank felt smaller that day. What had begun as curiosity had become a silent war, one he wasn't sure he could win. But it was too late to turn back. The next transaction would expose everything, and this time, he wasn't the only one watching. The morning the final transfer came through, the city was still waking, but inside the bank, tension pulsed like static. Daniel sat at his desk, palms damp, eyes fixed on the monitor. There it was, a transfer request for $8.6 million authorized under Eleanor Voss's personal signature. Destination, a numbered account linked to Cartham Industries. The very company is tied to political bribery and human rights violations abroad. This time, he didn't just trace it. He flagged it. Quietly routed a copy of the encrypted data to a journalist contact he trusted, a woman who had once been fired for exposing discrimination in the banking sector. Within hours, the file began to spread. When Eleanor walked in that afternoon, cameras were already stationed outside. Her bodyguards hovered close, confusion etched across their faces. She demanded to see the manager, but Daniel stood behind the counter, calm, almost serene. As federal agents stepped through the doors, "Mrs. Voss," one of them said, "we need you to come with us." Her diamonds caught the light one last time as she turned, eyes narrowing on Daniel. Not fury, not fear, recognition. She knew exactly who had done this. As they escorted her out, reporters shouted questions about corruption, offshore laundering, and illegal funding. The empire she'd built on silence was collapsing, and the man she'd once dismissed as invisible had made her visible to the world. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments! The story broke across every major network within a day. Billionaire's wife arrested in global corruption scandal. The headlines blazed with disbelief. The same society that once worshipped her wealth now devoured her downfall. Eleanor Voss's frozen accounts, seized assets, and hidden dealings became public record. Her husband's empire, once built on illusion, began to fracture under the weight of exposure. Inside the bank, Daniel sat quietly at his desk as the world reacted. Some colleagues avoided him. Others whispered in awe. No awards, no promotions, just the quiet knowledge that he had done the right thing when silence would have been safer. He hadn't sought revenge or recognition. He'd sought truth. But truth, mainly when spoken by those society tries to silence, is never easy. Daniel's courage reminded people that integrity doesn't always wear a suit of power. Sometimes it stands behind a counter, patient and unseen until the world finally looks its way. Months later, he walked past the marble lobby where her portraits once hung. The walls were bare now, stripped of the illusion of perfection. And for the first time, the bank felt lighter. This wasn't just the fall of a billionaire's wife. It was a story about courage in the quietest form, the courage to confront a system that thrives on fear and privilege, because sometimes the smallest voice can shake the tallest tower. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful true stories.